Dobodura Airfield, New Guinea, November 1943. The jungle steam rises off the steel mat runway like a fever. It is 100 degrees in the shade, and the air smells of rotting vegetation, high-octane fuel, and mildew. In the dispersal hut of the 475th Fighter Group, the Satan's Angels, a debate is raging. It is the eternal debate of the Pacific War, turn or burn. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning is the fastest, heaviest, and most potent fighter in the theater. It has two Allison V-1710 engines, a concentrated nose battery of 4.50 calibers and a 20 cannon, and the ability to climb like a rocket. But it has a wingspan of 52 feet. It is a twin-engine heavy fighter. Against it is the Mitsubishi A6M0, a featherweight, a kite made of deraillement and aggression. It can turn on a dime. It can loop inside a phone booth. The book, the official Army Air Forces manual, is clear. Do not turn with a zero. Do not slow down. Slash and run. But Lieutenant Colonel Charles MacDonald, the group commander, is not reading the book. He is rewriting it. MacDonald is 30 years old, which makes him an ancient philosopher king among the 20-year-old lieutenants. He is quiet, unassuming, and lacks the swagger of the typical ace. He treats aerial combat not as a joust, but as a geometry problem. He has been practicing something, a move. The new replacement pilots watch him from the flight line. They see MacDonald's P-38, Put Maru, climb to 15,000 feet over the base. Then they see something terrifying. The P-38 slows down. It hangs in the air near stalling speed. Then it snaps violently. The nose drops. The massive twin-boom fighter enters a spin. It is not a graceful spiral. It is a tumbling, chaotic fall. The plane rotates around its center of gravity, one wing stalled, the other flying. It looks like a falling leaf made of 5 tons of metal. A flat spin in a P-38 is usually a death sentence. The elevator is blanketed by the wake of the pod. Recovery is often impossible. On the ground, the rookies gasp. He's lost it. The old man has lost it. They wait for the crash. They wait for the bailout. But at 3,000 feet, the P-38 snaps out of the spin. The rotation stops instantly. The nose points straight down. The engines roar. The plane pulls out of the dive, smooth as glass, and buzzes the airfield at 400 mph. MacDonald lands. He taxis in. He looks calm. In the officers' club that night, the whispers start. They laugh nervously. Did you see that spin? He nearly killed himself. Why is he making a mistake? Maybe the heat is getting to him. They call it Mac's Folly. They think he is losing his edge. They think he is practicing how to recover from a screw-up rather than how to kill the enemy. But MacDonald isn't practicing making mistakes. He is perfecting a trap. The P-38 Lightning was a complex beast that killed as many rookies as the Japanese did. But in the hands of a master, its flaws became weapons. We are about to fly into the deadliest skies of 1943 to see how a suicide maneuver saved an entire flight from destruction. If you want to master the physics of the Pacific Air War, hit that like button and subscribe. The scramble siren is blowing. The physics of the trap. MacDonald knows something the rookies don't. The Zero is a master of the horizontal turn. If you pull hard, the Zero pulls harder. You lose. But the Zero has a weakness: compressibility and roll rate. At high speeds, the Zero's large ailerons stiffen. It can't roll fast, and it is light. It floats. MacDonald has discovered that the P-38's counter-rotating propellers on the newer models eliminate the torque effect that kills single-engine planes in a stall. This means he can enter a controlled stall, a snap spin, and exit it precisely. By spinning, he does three things. 1. He decelerates instantly. It is like slamming on the air brakes. 2. He descends vertically. He drops out of the enemy's gun sight. 3. He looks dead. To a Japanese pilot, a spinning P-38 looks like a kill. It looks like a plane out of control. It is the ultimate possum maneuver, but it requires nerves of steel. You have to put a heavy fighter into a departure from controlled flight while under fire and trust that you can catch it before you hit the jungle. November 15, 1943, the mission. The target is Wewak. It is a Japanese stronghold on the north coast of New Guinea. The harbor is full of supply ships. The airfields are packed with Zeros and Ki-43 Oscars. MacDonald is leading a fighter sweep. His job is to clear the sky for the B-25 Mitchell bombers coming in low to strafe the shipping. He leads red flight, 5 other P-38s. On his wing is a young lieutenant named Danny. Danny is a good pilot, but he is green. He flies by the book. He thinks MacDonald's spin practice is madness. "Stay close, Danny," MacDonald radios as they climb, "and don't get suckered into a turn." "Roger, Red Leader." They climb to 20,000 feet. The P-38s are heavy with fuel. The engines drone, a synchronized thrum that vibrates the floorboards. The weather is typical of New Guinea. Towering cumulus clouds, thunderheads, reaching up to 40,000 feet. They are like white mountains. MacDonald navigates around them. He scans the sky. Bandits 12 o'clock low. Below them, a swarm of Japanese fighters is climbing. They are Nakajima Ki-43 Oscars. The Oscar is even more agile than the Zero. It is a butterfly with machine guns. There are 20 of them. MacDonald checks his flight. 6 P-38s against 20 Oscars. "Drop tanks," MacDonald orders. The external fuel tanks tumble away. The P-38s leap forward. "We'll make one pass," MacDonald says. "Boom and zoom, hit them and climb back up. Do not mix it up." Red flight dives. The wind noise builds. The P-38s hit 400 mph. MacDonald lines up an Oscar. He centers the pip. He fires his nose guns. The .50 calibers shred the Oscar's wing. It explodes. Splash 1. The P-38s scream through the Japanese formation. They pull up, using their momentum to zoom back to altitude. It is a perfect textbook attack. But the Japanese are smart. They have a second wave. As MacDonald's flight climbs, bleeding off their speed, a second group of Zeros dives from the clouds above. They have been ambushed. "Break, break," MacDonald yells. The trap is sprung. The Zeros are diving on the P-38s from above and behind. They have the energy advantage. Danny the wingman panics. He breaks right. A Zero latches onto his tail. "I can't shake him," Danny screams. "He's chewing me up." MacDonald looks back. His flight is scattered. They are defensive. They are heavy. They are dying. If they dive, the Zeros will follow for a while. If they turn, the Zeros will cut inside. MacDonald sees Danny's plane taking hits. Pieces of aluminum are flying off the tail boom. MacDonald has to do something. He is the leader. He is the old man. He remembers the practice, the spin, the laughter. He realizes this is the moment. He has to become the bait. He keys his mic. His voice is flat, calm. "Red flight, this is lead. Follow me. Do exactly what I do." "What are you doing?" Danny yells. "We're going down," MacDonald says. MacDonald pulls the throttles back to idle. The P-38 slows. The Zeros are closing fast. They are hungry. They see the American leader slowing down. They think he is damaged. They think he is stupid. MacDonald waits until the lead Zero is 300 yards behind him. Then he kicks the left rudder hard and yanks the yoke back into his gut. Snap! 18,000 feet over Wewak. To the Japanese pilots of the 248th Sentai, the sight is baffling. They are chasing the Americans. They have the speed. They have guns. They are ready for the kill. Suddenly, the lead American plane, the one with the colorful command stripes, violently departs from controlled flight. It doesn't dive. It doesn't turn. It tumbles. MacDonald's P-38 snaps over on its back. The nose drops. The massive aircraft begins to rotate. It enters a vicious nose-down spin. The Zero pilot on his tail is caught off guard. He was setting up a deflection shot for a turn. He was expecting the American to bank. Instead, the target simply falls out of the sky. The Zero pilot pushes his stick forward to follow, but he is moving at 300 mph. His controls are stiff. He overshoots. He flies right over the top of the spinning P-38. "Do it, Danny," MacDonald screams over the radio. "Kick it." Danny, terrified, trusting his commander more than his instincts, kicks his rudder. His P-38 snaps into a spin. Then the rest of Red Flight follows. It is a bizarre spectacle. 6 P-38 Lightnings, the pride of the U.S. Army Air Forces, are falling out of the sky like dead birds. They are spinning, gyrating, tumbling toward the jungle. The Japanese formation falls into disarray. The Zeros try to follow, but a spin is a low-speed maneuver. To follow a plane in a spin, you have to slow down to stalling speed yourself. The Japanese pilots are confused. Are they hit? Did they collide? Is this a trick? They circle above, watching the Americans fall. They see the spin stabilize. They assume the Americans are doomed. You don't recover a heavy fighter from a spin at this altitude with Zeros watching. They hold their fire. They wait for the crashes. Inside the cockpit of Put Maru, Charles MacDonald is fighting the beast. The world is a blur of green and blue. The G-forces are throwing him against the side of the cockpit. The altimeter is unwinding like a clock in a time machine. 15,000 feet, 12,000 feet, 10,000 feet. MacDonald is counting. He needs to drop below the hard deck of the Japanese engagement zone. He needs to drag them down to the thick air. He looks at his engine gauges. The props are windmilling. "Steady," he whispers. "Wait for it." He sees the jungle rushing up. The individual trees are becoming visible. He checks his mirror. The Zeros are still there, but they are high. They are circling at 10,000 feet, watching the wreckage fall. They have stopped chasing. They think the kill is confirmed. This is the mistake. At 5,000 feet, MacDonald initiates the recovery. It is a precise sequence. If he gets it wrong, the wings will snap off, or he will pancake into the trees. Throttles to idle, already there. Opposite rudder, he stomps on the right pedal, he holds it. Stick forward, he pushes the yoke toward the instrument panel. The P-38 shudders, the rotation slows, the airflow reattaches to the tail. The nose bites the air, the spin stops. Now he is in a vertical dive. Speed is building rapidly. 300 mph, 400 mph. MacDonald gently pulls back on the stick. He has to be careful. The compressibility dive flaps, if equipped on his model, likely J-25s are deployed. The P-38 arcs out of the dive. The G-forces hit him 6 gs. His vision grays. He levels out at 2,000 feet, right above the jungle canopy. He looks around. One by one, the other P-38s pop out of their spins. Danny pulls out late, skimming the trees, shaking leaves with his prop wash. "I'm alive," Danny yells. "I'm alive." All 5 wingmen recover. They are scattered, but they are safe. They have dropped 16,000 feet in seconds. They are now fast, they are low, and they are invisible against the jungle floor. And above them, at 10,000 feet, the Zeros are still circling, looking for the crash sites. MacDonald grins. The trap is set. "Red flight, form up," MacDonald orders. "Switch to combat power, we're going back up." "Up?" Danny asks. "Sir, we just escaped." "We didn't escape," MacDonald says coldly. "We reloaded. They think we're dead. Let's go prove them wrong." MacDonald uses the immense momentum of the P-38. He pushes the throttles to war emergency power. The engines scream. The P-38's zoom climb. They trade their dive speed for altitude. They rocket upward, bellies flashing in the sun. The Japanese pilots are relaxed. They are reforming. They think the sky is theirs. They don't look down. MacDonald leads his flight up into the blind spot of the Zeros, directly from below. He targets the lead Zero. The Japanese pilot is looking at the horizon. MacDonald centers the pip. "Take them," MacDonald says. 10,000 feet, the counterattack. Surprise is the most lethal weapon in aerial warfare. It is worth more than speed, more than firepower. The Japanese pilots of the 248th Sentai are experiencing a cognitive dissonance. They saw the Americans fall. They saw the spins. In their minds, the fight was over. Suddenly, the air beneath them erupts. 6 P-38 Lightnings, screaming upwards at 350 mph, tear into the belly of the Japanese formation. MacDonald fires. The nose of Put-Put Maru unleashes its concentrated stream of death. 4.5 Zeros and the 20 cannon. The lead Zero disintegrates. The fuel tank in the wing root explodes. The pilot never knew he was under attack. Splash 2. MacDonald doesn't stop. He flies right through the fireball. His wingmen, emboldened by their survival, follow his lead. Danny, the rookie who was panicked minutes ago, lines up an Oscar. The Oscar tries to turn, but the P-38 is coming in with massive energy. Danny fires a deflection shot. The Oscar loses its tail. "I got him, I got him." The Japanese formation shatters. Panic sets in. They are being attacked by ghosts. The Zeros scatter. They try to dogfight, but the P-38s are playing a different game now. MacDonald orders, "Slash and run, don't turn, use the vertical." The P-38s zoom past the Zeros, climb, stall, turn, and come down again. They are using the yo-yo maneuver. They are turning their speed into height and their height into speed. The Zeros, caught at medium altitude with low energy, are sitting ducks. MacDonald spots a Zero trying to dive away. He rolls his P-38 and follows. The P-38 is heavy. It dives faster. MacDonald closes the distance. The Zero pilot jinks left, then right. MacDonald waits. He anticipates the rhythm. He fires. The Zero's engine cowling flies off. The plane rolls over and plunges into the sea. Splash 3. The fight lasts only 3 minutes. It is a massacre. The Japanese lose 6 planes. The Americans lose none. The remaining Zeros dive for the deck, fleeing back toward Wewak. MacDonald checks his fuel. They have burned a lot in the climb. "Red flight, let's go home," MacDonald says. "Good work." They turn south, toward the Owen Stanley Mountains. On the flight back, the radio is quiet. The adrenaline is fading, replaced by the shakes. Danny pulls up alongside MacDonald's wing. He gives a thumbs up. MacDonald nods. They land at Dobodura. The heat hits them as they open the canopies. The ground crews run out. They expect battle damage. They expect holes. Instead, they find the planes intact. A few scratches, some soot on the gun ports. MacDonald climbs down. His flight suit is soaked with sweat. His knees are weak. Danny runs over to him. He grabs MacDonald's hand. "Sir, that was insane. I thought we were dead." MacDonald wipes his face with a rag. "We were dead, Danny, for about 30 seconds. "The spin," Danny says, shaking his head. "You practiced it, you knew." "I knew they wouldn't follow," MacDonald says. "A spin looks like a mistake. The enemy never interrupts you when you're making a mistake." The other pilots gather around, the ones who laughed, the ones who called it Mac's folly. They look at the gun camera footage. They see the spins. They see the recovery. They see the ambush. They stop laughing. The maneuver gets a new name. They don't call it a folly anymore. They call it the MacDonald split, or simply the spin-out. It becomes a standard, albeit dangerous, evasion tactic for the 475th. If you are trapped, if you are swarmed, spin, play dead, then kill. The aftermath. The mission became a legend in the Pacific. It proves that the P-38 is not just a boom and zoom interceptor. In the hands of a pilot who understands its unique aerodynamics, it is a box of magic tricks. But the story isn't over. The Japanese are not just losing planes. They are losing their best pilots, and they are beginning to realize that the Americans are evolving. However, there is a cost to these high-G maneuvers. A week later, MacDonald's crew chief, Sergeant Pappy, calls him over to the plane. "Colonel, look at this." Pappy points to the tail boom of Put Maru. The metal skin is wrinkled. The rivets are popped. The main spar has stress fractures. "She's bent, sir," Pappy says. "You twisted the airframe in that pull-out." MacDonald runs his hand over the wrinkled aluminum. He feels the stress the machine endured. "She held it together," MacDonald says. "Barely," Pappy says. "Another G or two and the tail would have snapped off." MacDonald realizes how close he cut it. The spin saved them, but it almost destroyed the plane. He has to get a new plane, but he keeps the name, WWII. The war goes on. The 475th moves north, Hollandia, Wewak, the Philippines. MacDonald continues to lead. He continues to score. He eventually becomes the third-ranking Army ace in the Pacific with 27 kills. But he never forgets the spin, and he never forgets the sound of the rookies laughing. Because laughter, in war, is just the sound of ignorance before the lesson is learned. Wewak Island, June 1944. The war moves fast. The island-hopping campaign has dragged the 475th Fighter Group from the steamy jungles of New Guinea to the coral airstrips of Wewak, and soon to the Philippines. Colonel Charles MacDonald is no longer just a squadron commander. He is the group commander. He is the old man of the Satan's angels. The legend of the spin has spread. It is no longer a joke in the officers' club. It is a classified tactic, whispered about in briefings. If you are overwhelmed, if the zeros are swarming, pull the plug. But MacDonald is not resting on his laurels. He is evolving. In the summer of 1944, a visitor arrived at the base. He is a tall, lanky civilian with graying hair. He wears no rank, but the generals salute him. It is Charles Lindbergh, the lone eagle, the man who flew the Atlantic. Lindbergh is technically a civilian technical representative for WWII and later Lockheed. He is there to teach the pilots how to fly the P-38 more efficiently. Most of the hotshot pilots roll their eyes. What can this old man teach us about combat? He flew a fabric plane in 1927. But MacDonald listens. He recognizes a kindred spirit, a fellow scientist of the air. Lindbergh teaches them cruise control. He teaches them to lower the RPMs to 1,600 and raise the manifold pressure. He teaches them how to lean the mixture until the engines almost quit. The result is staggering. The combat radius of the P-38 jumps from 400 miles to 800 miles. MacDonald and Lindbergh fly together, two quiet, analytical men and the deadliest fighters in the world. On one mission, Lindbergh actually shoots down a Japanese plane, a Sanya, though as a civilian it is kept off the official books. Lindbergh watches MacDonald fly. He watches him lead. Later, Lindbergh writes in his journal, "Colonel MacDonald is the finest combat leader I have ever seen. He does not fly for glory. He flies for the result." The philosophy of the scoreboard. By late 1944, the race of aces was on. Richard Bong and Thomas Maguire, both P-38 pilots in the same theater, are trading the title of Ace of Aces back and forth. They are racking up kills in the 30s. The press loves them. They are celebrities. MacDonald is quiet. His score is climbing, 20, 22, 25, but he doesn't hunt for numbers. He hunts for survival. There is a fundamental difference in his style. Bong and Maguire are aggressive predators. They roam the sky looking for trouble. MacDonald is a shepherd. He often gives kills away. If a Zero is damaged, drifting down, MacDonald will radio his wingman, "Finish him off, kid." He wants his pilots to build confidence. He wants them to taste victory. One afternoon, over Leyte Gulf, MacDonald's flight was jumped by the new Japanese fighter, the Nakajima Ki-84 Frank. Frank is dangerous. It is fast, armored, and heavily armed. It is superior to the P-38 in many regimes. MacDonald's flight is tired. They are low on fuel. A Frank latches onto a straggling P-38. MacDonald is at altitude. He sees the danger. He could dive and shoot, but the angle is bad. He remembers the lesson of the spin, deception. MacDonald dives, but he doesn't fire. He screams past the Japanese fighter, passing within feet of his canopy. He chops his throttle and extends his dive flaps, creating a massive sonic boom and a wash of turbulence. The Japanese pilot, startled by the sudden appearance of the massive silver lightning bolt, flinches. He breaks off the attack. The straggler escapes. MacDonald didn't fire a shot. He didn't need to. He used the threat of the P-38 to win the engagement. The last dogfight. December 1944, the Philippines. The end of the war is visible, but the fighting is more savage than ever. The Japanese are desperate. The kamikaze attacks have begun. MacDonald takes Put Maru III up for a sweep over Negros Island. He spots a Japanese destroyer in the harbor. It is putting up a wall of flak. "Red flight, stay high," MacDonald orders. "I'm going down to take a look." He dives alone. As he pulls out of the run, 3 Zeros jump him. He is low, he is slow, he is alone. This is the nightmare scenario. The Zeros bracket him, they are firing. Tracers zip past his cockpit. MacDonald checks his altitude, 2,000 feet, too low for the spin. If he spins now, he hits the water. He has to fight. He uses the P-38's differential throttles. He jams the left throttle forward and pulls the right throttle back. The P-38 yaws violently to the right, faster than a rudder turn. It is a hammerhead cartwheel. The Zeros overshoot. MacDonald slams both throttles forward. He is now facing the Zeros. He fires. He shears the wing off the lead Zero. The other two turn to engage. MacDonald pulls into a vertical climb. He relies on the torque-free climb of the P-38. He hangs on his props. The Zeros stall trying to follow him. MacDonald wing-overs and drops onto them. He shoots down the second one. The third one flees. MacDonald lands back at the base. He walks into the dispersal hut. He grabs a Coke. "Any luck, Colonel?" a major asks. "Two," MacDonald says. "They made a mistake." "What mistake?" "They thought they had me cornered." The legacy of the Put-Put Maru. Charles MacDonald finishes the war with 27 confirmed aerial victories. He is the third-ranking Army ace in the Pacific, behind only Bong, 40, and Maguire, 38. But look at the survival rates. Richard Bong was killed in 1945, testing a jet P-80. Thomas Maguire is killed in 1945 in a P-38, stalling out at low altitude while trying to turn with an Oscar. Charles MacDonald survives. He survives because he never believed his own press. He never believed he was invincible. He treated the P-38 as a machine with limits, and he respected those limits until he had to break them. The suicide spin was not a stunt. It was a calculated risk. It was a maneuver born of deep aerodynamic understanding. He knew exactly how much altitude he needed. He knew exactly how the airflow would reattach. He was the professor of destruction. After the war, MacDonald stayed in the Air Force. He retired as a colonel. He writes a book, The Old Man and the Boy, one of the finest memoirs of the air war. But his real legacy is found in the men who came home because of him. The 5 pilots of Red Flight who spun down into the jungle that day in 1943, they all survived the war. They went on to have families, grandchildren. They owe their lives to the moment their commander did something that looked like suicide. Years later, at a reunion, a historian asks MacDonald about the P-38. "It was a controversial plane," the historian says. "Some pilots hated it. They said it was a death trap." MacDonald smiles. He looks at his hands, hands that mastered the twin throttles, hands that held the yoke in a 400 mph dive. "The P-38 was honest," MacDonald says. "It told you what it could do. It had 2 engines. It had a nose full of guns. It climbed like an angel." "But the spin," the historian asks. "The manual said it was fatal." "The manual was written by engineers," MacDonald says. "It wasn't written by men with zeros on their tail." He leans forward. "In war, the rules are just suggestions. The only law is gravity, and if you know how to use gravity better than the other guy, you win." The jungles of New Guinea have reclaimed the wrecks. The aluminum skeletons of the Zeros and the P-38s that didn't make it back are now covered in vines, home to snakes and birds. But the story of the MacDonald split remains. It is a reminder that in the face of overwhelming odds, conformity is death. When the enemy expects you to turn, you spin. When they expect you to run, you attack. Charles MacDonald didn't just outfly the Japanese. He outthought them. He proved that the most dangerous component of the P-38 Lightning wasn't the 20mm cannon or the turbochargers. It was the mind of the man in the cockpit. This was the story of Leonard Funk, the paratrooper who laughed in the face of death. "Wait, No, this was the story of Charles MacDonald, the pilot who turned a death spiral into a survival tactic. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, please hit that subscribe button. We release new documentaries every week. What would you have done in that cockpit? Would you have trusted the spin or tried to turn with the zeros? Do you think MacDonald was reckless or a genius? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.